Hi, and welcome to a Small, Medium, at Large podcast. I'm your host, Gail Hyson, bringing you intimate interviews beyond normal boundaries. I want to thank all you listeners for joining, liking, subscribing, sharing, and also letting us know your questions or any information or comments you have. We really appreciate hearing from you. I want to thank my husband, David, my daughter, Nancy, my son, Rich, for producing and getting this podcast out to you on all the different social media sites, on YouTube and Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other sites. So thanks for being here today. This, I believe, is our 102nd show. And we're very looking forward to hearing from our new special guest today, which is Maria Martinez. Let me tell you a little bit about Maria. Maria Martinez is a wealth consciousness and human potential activator, international leader and influencer, author, speaker, multidimensional healer, divine channel, and divine human podcast host. Maria was born awake to a reality interwoven with the unseen. She has navigated the tapestry of dimensions and timelessness since childhood. Descended from a lineage of powerful shamans, she embodies an ancient wisdom that transcends the confines of ordinary perception. But Maria's journey is far from ordinary. As a psychic medium and channel, Maria communicates with the Galactic Federation, ascended masters, and angelic realms, bringing forth their wisdom and weaving it into her transformative work. She speaks the language of the cosmos, channeling light language and cosmic tones to heal and activate the soul. She has visited her own starship, walked the corridors of the Confederation ship, and even been sought out by interdimensional beings seeking her guidance and leadership in their cosmic causes. This is a woman who sees the unseen, heals the unhealable, and dances with the very fabric of reality. Trained by this luminous collective with whom she shares an ancient pact, Maria works to heal, activate, and protect, restoring true freedom, sovereignty, and divine will across the cosmos. Their mission is to empower souls to reclaim their inherent authority, ignite their powerful will, and step into their full potential. Maria's work is a symphony of spirit, soul, energy, and mind alignment. She channels these powerful beings consciously, weaving their wisdom and energy into her transformative work. Maria Martinez is not just a healer or a guide. She is a living bridge between worlds, a testament to the interconnectedness of all beings and the infinite potential that resides with each of us. Her life is an invitation to step beyond the veil and embrace the extraordinary truth of who we are. Let's welcome Maria Martinez here today. Hi, Maria.
Hi, Gail. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's wonderful to have you on a Small, Medium, at Large podcast. And I know we only have an hour because you have another appointment, so I'm going to try to rush through my questions faster than I normally would. I would like to find out the question I always ask everyone that's the first time on my show is if you could describe just a little bit about where you grew up, your family, and if it put you on the path today. And the other second part to that question will be sharing your experience as a child with interdimensional travel. So if you could first let us know what happened in your childhood. It's very interesting, each person, each guest. Some of them, it really put them on the path they're on. Some of them, it was exactly opposite of the path they're on.
hmm
So how was your family and where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in the LA area. I came from Mexico. We moved here when I was about 6, and I grew up in that area, and it was very sheltered. I was in it, growing up was very sheltered. However, I was already connecting with beings of light. I had visitations. I was doing mission work at a very young age, 5, 6 years old. And this initially felt like dreams. And then I realized that I wasn't having dreams and that I was seeing them in the middle of the day. And I shared this with my parents, especially my mom. And she wasn't surprised because she's also a healer and she's also clairvoyant. And then as I continued to share these stories, then she shared that my grandfather was a shaman and that this was sort of normal for us. And although it was normal, it was not normal, normal for in a regular day-to-day in experience. So it was really interesting because I was just having these beautiful connections and going on these powerful mission trips, especially undoing like witchcraft and black magic led by my guides and my angels. And in that process, they were helping me remember this work that I had done in many other lifetimes, as well as retrieving soul fragments that had been trapped in the astral planes or other dimensions or by other beings. All of this work for me was sort of like, oh, this is fun. I just go and it sort of just happens. I just know what to do. But again, it was the remembering. They were helping me remember, and they were also training me by giving me other tools in the process. So it was very interesting, and I would share this with my parents, especially my mom, and she would just kind of stay quiet. Uh, when I got a little bit older, when I was about, you know, 8, um, she decided, well, I think it's actually happened by accident. We met a friend, it's not an accident, nothing really happens by accident, but we met a friend who
Right.
was also a shaman, and she recognized my work that I was doing. And she said, oh, you're doing a lot of extra travel, you're doing all these mission works. And what we need to do for you is to make sure that you're aware while you're doing this mission work and that you have boundaries around you. We don't want you to come back with attachments. We don't want you to get trapped, a part of your soul get trapped in other parts of, wherever you're going, because that was exactly the work that I was doing. I was retrieving soul fragments. So she started, or I started with her at that age, about 8 years old, in it with my initiations. And so this kind of continued, like this was kind of my normal life where I would go do missions, I would share them with my parents. And I think one time when I came back, I had a big mark on my arm. It was like a handprint, but it was very like the fingers were very long, the hand was very long, it was bigger than my dad's, and my dad's a tall person. So that concerned them a little bit. So we went to see our friend, the shaman, and she said, oh, no, no, they were taking care of her. Her guys were taking care of her. That was one of her angels kind of moving her or pulling her out of that situation. She said, but we want to continue doing the work with her. So my work continued with her, with my initiations and the boundaries, connecting to my higher consciousness. And it wasn't until I was in college that it wasn't happening in the astral plane anymore. It was happening in the day to day. I would be sitting at my desk and then a portal would open, beings would come in. Some of them were not very nice, very dark. So, I would send them away, but it just became sort of a nuisance. It was interfering with my life as a student. And I wasn't getting enough sleep. So I came back one weekend. I asked my parents, I said, I actually told them, I said, I need to do something about this. It's it's really getting in the way of my life, and I have no control over it. I don't have control of when they come in or not. So that's when I started my shamanic training with our friend. And initially, it was in the tools. She helped me understand the tools, gave me tools, helped me put in practice different things, and we
Was
can.
this a was this a specific, like I my first shamanic exposures was I've been for the last 40 years now involved with the Huichol Indians from the mountains of Mexico. And they have very, very powerful Huichol shamans, and they follow what their particular protocol. So was there a specific shamanic group
She
or
was from Argentina. Oh, she had her own
Argentina?
group, and she was from Argentina. Yes, and so she had her own community as well. And many times I would come in while they were there gathering. So I was part of that. So I was part of her training group and part of her
Mhm.
community. And um, she would channel. She was a so I channel source, I channel other beings, but I channel consciously. She would channel unconsciously. They would come into her body, and she would channel very high, powerful beings of light. She would channel a Christ consciousness. She would channel Mother Mary. and she would channel other cosmic doctors since her specialty was in healing. And so it was very, very interesting being in her presence. And it was always a nice surprise to see who was coming in. And a lot of that was in our training. We would sitting, actually, my mom also trained with me a little bit. So all three of us would be sitting together, and all of a sudden I feel this hand touch me that felt very different than her hand. Her name was Lydia. Um, and I would look over, and the whole, like, her whole persona had changed, and it was so beautiful. And then her teachings would begin, and she would tell us, make sure you record everything, or make sure you write everything down, because I won't remember. And then afterwards we would let her know. So it was really amazing, everything that came through being for light. So initially my childhood was, they would come in, and a lot of that was in the astral plane, and sometimes they would come really, really early in the morning, late in the evening. But with her, they would come in through her. So it was a different
Mhm.
type of training, different experience, all very, very good and very amazing. So that was my childhood. And
I
with
love
that,
this child. I wish that was my childhood.
well, what I was gonna say is that even with that, like, you live this life, and then there's this other life, right? The 3D. And you're like, okay, so I'm here and I'm there, and you're learning to still navigate the 3D while you have this life like this.
Mhm.
And then how do you allow that to be your natural self in the 3D? So that was also a learning that I now teach others, as they awaken, as we awaken the star seed, or as we awaken, the galactic shaman, or as we awaken, yeah, the multidimensional healer.
Oh, so there was an experience I was reading about that you visually saw, if you could describe, I think it was when you were 8, when you had your first interaction with, can you describe the interdimensional being and what you saw?
Well, that started very early on.
Hmm.
Like I said, it's like you and I talking, they would show up, and then we'd have a conversation. Uh, these beings that would come in, initially it was just Archangel Michael, Mother Mary, Jesus Christ, and other ascended masters or other guides. And eventually it was more galactic beings that would come in. And they often came in, and it was, the communication was more telepathically
That
versus
was the
having a
question.
conversation. Yeah, versus having a conversation. And it was interesting because there was a knowing already about, like, again, it felt like a remembrance, like they were just downloading information into me, of what was beyond, what we normally think is available to us.
Hmm.
So it was really interesting. And that happened throughout. I mean, it happened at 8 years old when I had my first sort of cosmic encounter, and at 12, and then at many other times after that. Um, I see them now. I see them all the time, especially when I'm working with other people. It's, whether because my work is helping people, humanity, beings step into their true sovereignty and own their power and embody who they truly are meant to be. So activating or reactivating the divine blueprint. So when I'm working with somebody, I look for things or beings that are interfering with that. So I do see other beings that are not of this world and not of this dimension, uh, that are interfering, that are from other planets or from other galaxies or other dimensions, interfering with free will, or with our divine light.
And do you ever feel um, uh, any fear, or, and since you were like, were you in fear when you were 8 and had that experience, or has it always been more of an approach of a divine, loving presence and not a threatening or anything of darkness?
Oh no, I saw everything. I saw everything when I was in her first home. Where I had a little room and a little closet, and that closet served as a portal, not just for higher beings, but for other beings. And many times they would come in to scare me. They would come and tell me nobody can help you. You're not. They wanted to amplify some of the insecurities that were there. So they would tap into those and tell me that I was not enough, or that no one's going to help me, that no matter what I did. And so I just kept, I kept praying. I kept holding on to the light, me being the light. And eventually I learned to say, no, go away. And that was also I was very young when I learned to do that. And I don't quite remember how that came about. I feel like if I tune into it, it was one of the tools that one of my guides gave me to say,
Mhm.
go away, and they can hurt you. Like they would tell me, they can hurt you. When you say no, it's divine law. They cannot enter your space. So initially, yes, I was still afraid when I would say, no, go away. But then eventually I was like, no, go away, or stop bothering me. I'm not dealing with you right now. Go away. And then it got to the point where I just wave my hand, like they wake me up or they show up in the middle of the night, and I'm like eyes not quite open. I'm like, nope, goodbye.
And do you think, 'cause I've had a couple of those kind of experiences from childhood and found them very frightening, but now of course I'm in a totally different place and would and deal with them differently. And so I think I was about 16, 16 or 16 and a half when I had to do like an exorcism of someone trying to possess me.
Mm,
And unfortunately, I was having experiences like you're talking about as a child, but I didn't have those people that you did around you.
mm,
And so
yeah,
that causes all sorts of confusion and things about why is this happening and who do you talk to when this is happening.
right,
And
yeah,
so, and this is, we're talking in the 60s, and now is a different time. And so some of those things people would never even share or talk about those experiences because they would
right.
think that people would think you were crazy. So I'm wondering, what do you think is going on right now? Because in mainstream media, all of a sudden they're talking about interdimensional beings. They're talking about
Mhm,
UAPs, a new one I had never heard of, and the UFOs, and it's government people coming out of the closet and all these different,
mhm,
people, blowing the whistles or whatever. And that
yeah,
hasn't happened, but it seems to be very present right now. And I don't know if it's because we have podcasts or Zooms or why, but I'm saying 10 years ago, this was not present like it is right now. And I'm wondering
yeah.
if you have any idea why this is happening at this time.
I yes, I like to share about that. I want to go back to what you said, what happened to you when you were 16.
Yeah.
I noticed that, and I noticed from my own experience and from the many people that I work with, that there's a shift that happens within ourselves as we go into puberty. In that time that we're like trying to get into puberty, going through puberty, and then sort of stepping into becoming sort of a little bit more of a mature adult or young adult. In that time frame, we're very vulnerable because there's a lot of shifts that are happening biologically, mentally, emotionally, and everything. And that's where I've seen a lot of the attacks happen. A lot of entities wanting to possess or wanting to come to a or wanting to start. Because that's when you're kind of deciding who you are in the world or who you're going to be in the world as a human being, and they want to distort that. They want to keep you from knowing yourself. They want to keep you from stepping into your power. They want to keep you from choosing you. Uh, so it's very interesting that you said that, and I find that a lot. Especially with clients within that age, is that that's when it's happening. And I also remember my own experience. Fortunately, like you said, I did have beings of light, and I did have a remembrance of who I was that gave me that fortitude and that, divine yes to, to stay in my path. But that's when I was saying when they would come in and say, no one can help you. I mean, now it's funny, but it's like when I remember that and I'm talking to somebody, I'm like, don't worry, just we're gonna do this. And we got you. Yeah.
When I was doing that, when that was happening to me, it was when I was doing healing work
Mhm.
because I was doing medical diagnosis and I was very good at it. So I would just be told the name and the age and the city that the person was in, and I could tell them everything that was wrong with the person. And then I'd go home, and for a week, I would spend every night before I went to sleep giving healing energy to that person I've never met, but met in that, in
Mhm.
the other realm or and that's where I felt I picked up this person. I think he was dying. I'm not sure. And he sort of attached on to me or something. And And it really was a very frightening thing because I felt like he was trying to take over my entire being, and he
Mm-hmm.
was. And it was like you're saying, the simple act of standing up and saying, "No, you cannot do this. I have to protect yourself." I wished the people around me would have taught me that ahead of time, but
Mm-hmm.
now of course I know those things,
Yeah.
but I hadn't thought about the vulnerability, like you're saying. Like I know I was open to that because I'd been doing healing work and I'd done hundreds of bodies by that point.
Amazing. Mm-hmm.
And then I think about though adolescence and what you're saying. Yes, that would be a very vulnerable time to have possible entities or things enter into a child or a young person because they're so open at that time and
Mm-hmm.
searching.
Yeah, everything is amplified at that time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's important for listeners to know, for anyone who has young people in their home now in that teenage, in those years, that
Mm-hmm.
they could be, dealing with some of this kind of information and not sharing it. And it's because they might be afraid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very important in during that age to really help them find themselves, connect to themselves, feel the love for themselves, and feel the connection with the divine within themselves.
Yes.
Being enough, loving themselves, accepting themselves, forgiving themselves. So those pillars are really important. So affirmations, um, bringing them forward in terms of being present, all of that is really important.
And I just want to ask you a couple more shamanic questions, just one or two here, and then I want to go more into our interdimensional beings. Um, are there any in 2012, I was initiated into as a Buryat Mongolian shaman, and I was given certain tools and things that I still work with today when I do any shamanic work. And I was wondering whether you had any of those kind of things or tools that you work with. Like for me, my most powerful tool is this little jaw harp. And this little jaw harp does a great service for me when wanting to get into that place and also to connect into the space with others. So I was
Mm-hmm.
wondering if you used any tools.
Yeah, when I first started my training, they gave me lots of tools, but eventually, I how they describe is that as we continue to get into the work and we evolve into the work, then the tools become us.
Mhm.
So now what I use is sound and light language and breathing, and also the direction or directing people into a certain space. So those are now the tools that in the past I would use. I would use a tuning fork. I would use a bell. I would use a little singing bowl. I would use a chime. I would use different things, string, oil, essence,
Yes.
which is initially what they had for me. And even when
Mhm.
I was doing my missions, they would give me like they would say, okay, you're using this um, for this particular mission. And then eventually, uh, I guess as we continue to do the work, we evolved into the tools become part of us. And so the sound now it's audible. The light language comes in, the frequencies come in, and I either interpret the sound or the words in light language.
Beautiful. And is there one story you might be able to share, a quickie, that was an experience you had with a client or another person that you did shamanic work with, where they had a profound experience or some sort of a transformation or anything? You don't have to say their name or, let us know anything personal, but just an example of an experience that someone might have had in doing this with you.
Oh wow, yeah, so many. The let's see, the person that comes to mind just recently. I've been working with this because they're showing up more. Actually, all those people are like, tell my story, tell my story. It's a okay. So one particular client that was working on their health, their vitality, but also their money because everything is intertwined in their love and relationship. So one of the things that we did with them is we noticed that they had seals, so ancient seals that were placed throughout different parts of the body, mostly around the energy centers. And these seals were it, they were distorting the DNA and they were distorting the way they were running their energy and the way they were activating their codes. So in one of the our sessions, I removed five of the seals, and their transformation was amazing. Their money, I think that she said that her money grew by 32%. The pain, she had a lot of pain, especially in her lower back and lower legs. That was gone. Um, she was also in, not necessarily in the, well, her relationship also improved, I want to say,
Mhm.
to not get into any details. So her relationship also improved her communication. It was more of the communication. So by releasing those seals that allow her to communicate at a different level and to attract at a different level and to create at a different level. So raising her frequency, activating the codex, helping her connect further and higher to her higher self. So everything around her shifted. So that's one very powerful story. And I have many like that. There's another, this is the gentleman who came in, and his was a very physical. So he had a lot of pain, he had a lot of just heaviness, and he just felt like his vitality was draining out of him. Like he couldn't just really function. So for him, it was more of an exorcism where we pulled out different entities that were in his field attached to different organs in his system. So when we
Mhm.
did that, that completely changed him. Like when he was laying down, when he got up, he looked like he lost like 15 pounds. Uh, and, and he noticed it too, because his wife was there and he went to hug her and he said, I didn't know this, but he said, wow, look at me. He said, in the past or prior to working with you, I couldn't put my arms around her. Now I can. I can hold her, which means that he noticed his stomach wasn't there. Like 15 pounds have been released from his stomach. So those are the two significance, like in the recent.
Very,
Yeah.
very great stories. Makes me want to rush down there and get my 15 pounds off.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know you're asking me about the interdimensional beings. That when I work with somebody and I work at the multidimensional level, we look at what's earthbound, but we also look at what's not earthbound. We also look at what's from other dimensions. And I find, and I call in my divine team, I call in the luminous beings of light, and we call out everything up and forward. It's like we have sort of, they're all hidden and we call them up, we find them and we elevate them, and then the divine beings will extract them from their field and take them wherever they need to go. But it's really powerful when you know what you're looking for, or when you're looking for something that doesn't belong in the divine blueprint. And it's, you notice it is there and then it's removed. It's a very powerful transformation and impact that can be felt at many different levels, and mental, physical, emotional. Just before coming on, I was working with somebody else, and this was sort of a long life, uh, pretty much he's had it his whole life, a very rare, unique disease. And as we were initially working, I noticed, oh, this is really not from this world. So we worked to extract all of that from the morphic field, from the auric field, from every dimension and everywhere he exists, down to the DNA level, the bloodline DNA level, across the ancestral lineage, and backwards and forward. So it was this sort of this powerful image that was showing up of these strands coming out, in different directions, because we're working with the karma, we're working with the ancestral lineage, we're working with the generations coming forth, because it's something that can be passed on. And when I asked him, what do you feel? He's like, I don't know, it just feels fast and furious, but so much is leaving my body, but it feels really good. So
That's
yeah, so you can see and they can feel it. The clients can feel this powerful transformation. And again, the goal is that everyone steps into their sovereignty, their freedom, their true authentic self. They have ownership of their multidimensional bodies, and they are the masters of their destiny.
that's that's very beautifully said. And what it would be like if we all did that. that changing one person and then changing it. If each person changes, then that's a way of changing the world. So I want to go down into this next area that's, a little bit more talking about interdimensional beings. And I have a few questions, and I know we've only got about 25 minutes, so I'll try and keep this good. Before I start on those questions about cosmic contract and quantum ascension and these things, there was one question I'm not sure if you could answer in one sentence or how this would be, but who are we?
Hmm. That's a good question. So who are we? We are a collective, right? We are maybe hybrids of many different parts of ourselves that have been incarnating from the time of the origin, when we were star born. We came in into a light or a race, and then we continue to evolve from there, and we continue to incarnate uh, for the greater good of that race and eventually the greater good of humanity. So we are many and we are one. In that many, we have so many memories of who we are, but we are the one and we are the consciousness of all of that. And we are one with the universal consciousness. We are all beautiful and unique and divinely perfect. And
Mhm.
that's what we're coming back to, that divine perfection of who we are and remembering who we are, as well as moving into that freedom of who we are, and accessing our ancient wisdom and knowledge as divine perfection, which means we're not in suffering, we're not in survival, we're not in pain, that we're thriving. We're thriving. We're supernatural because that's our state. Our natural state is to be supernatural, clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient, psychic. That's our natural state. So as we remember who we are, we're unlocking and activating that within ourselves as we move back into the divine essence of who we are.
Beautiful. I really enjoy having you on the show.
Thank
So I'm
you.
now going to ask you what questions might seem silly. I'm not sure, but I did have a question from my husband because my husband keeps telling me how he's planning that there's a ship that's going to come and we're all going to take off with him. And I keep telling him I'm staying home. I'm an earth person. And he's always looking up in the stars, getting ready to go. So he has a lot of things about this. And he's, he's a scientist himself and an MIT man and a Yale guy. So he's a very smart person. And right now he's been spending a lot of research and time on gravity. So he has a gravity question for you, which is, when you were on the ship, which I read in your information, did you feel weight, or were you floating around, or were you not of your body, or was there any type of gravity-like force or anything that you noticed? Had anything to do with gravity, or were
Hmm.
people or
Ah.
things, or I don't know anything about gravity, so this is really his question for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. So though I've traveled to my ship many times. My initial encounter was when I first went to do my training there, and it so there was a gravity or a lightness. So it was a little bit like what we see like walking on the moon, right? Your body's light, you move a little bit slower, but then eventually either my body adjusted or I learned to adjust to it. So now when I go back, it's as if I'm just walking around my house. I walk down the corridors, I go to different rooms, I take my clients there, we go into the med bay. So it's um it maybe initially I was learning, or initially that's the kind of training ground that they created because it's actually harder to move in that space. Uh, and it was purposeful for the training that we were doing. But once I got through that training, it was just like being in my home and walking around my house.
So it was like a second nature. It was
Hmm.
that.
Yes, now it is. Now it is. It didn't feel like much of an issue though before. I feel like it was purposeful for the training that
Mhm.
we were doing. But it was neat because you can move in many different ways. Yeah, it was like magic. It's like, oh, I wanna. fly and I want to spin and I want to. So that was pretty fun, being in that space. But now when I go, that's also accessible. Uh, but it's almost like hey, let's get into the elevator. Oh, we're here. We're here in my ship, and then we can walk around and I can move direct my clients wherever they need to go. And yeah, it's not an issue.
And do you have all your senses? Like, do you have your sense of smell and your sense of taste or touch, or
Yes.
and do you have any recollections? Like my husband was saying how Russian spaceships were notoriously known for smelling like urine because it was part of something in their system, and so that's what it would smell like. And I was wondering if there were any smells or things that anything that's of your senses that you might remember.
It was pretty clean. The spaceship was it's pretty clean. So I no not there isn't a particular smell that kind of pops up for me. Especially because a lot of the times when I go there, I take them into the medical bay. So that is a very white, clean room with beds
Mhm.
and lots of lasers and other beings and different cosmic healers come into there to work with my clients. So it's a very crisp and clean space. There isn't any particular smell that I can think of.
Great. All right. So now I finished with his questions. So, have you ever brought back any physical evidence? I'm not asking that I need proof because
Mhm.
that's why we have this show for everyone to share whatever their experiences are. And I'm just wondering if that's something that's I do things and people, they want to see proof of this or proof, and I'm not here to prove anything, so I have
Yeah.
my experience and that's it. But I'm wondering what happens for you if people say to you, "Did you bring back a piece of the ship or did you?"
That thought has never crossed my mind of, oh, if I bring this back, or could I bring this back? So no, I haven't brought anything back as physical evidence. It's just it's not a thought that has ever crossed my mind, I guess, because I'm all in.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, no. Um,
And is it
yeah.
your astral body? Because when you're saying you're taking clients to the same space and you're doing healing work there, their body is sitting in the room that you're in, and then you're taking their spirit body or their astral body, or what would that, what's the right
Yes. So now what we do is we take the astral body or the spirit with me. So we go there and they come with me or I direct them to go, and I'm already there waiting for them with the
way?
beings of light in their higher self. So now that's the efficient way to do it, especially if I'm working with a large group of people.
Uh-huh. Okay, there's a couple other things here. I think we're doing good. We've got about 15 minutes left. You did explain that the communication was telepathic, which was one of my questions. But there were two other things you write about, and I wasn't sure what these mean. What is a cosmic contract?
Yeah, a cosmic contract is very similar to a contract that you may have with with somebody here to do something, right? To execute on something.
Hmm.
The cosmic contracts are agreements that we have with source and sometimes with other beings, like other galactic beings, let's say with a race like Arcturians or Pleiadians, that are for you to execute on something. So some of the cosmic contracts that I have are that I'm working with them in a team, and they either come in and they extract uh, whatever we're clearing, or they come in to do healing, or they come in to hold space, or they come in as advisors. Those are different type of contracts. Those are the good kind of contracts that we have. There are other cosmic contracts that are not as good, especially if they're not with the right um, race that has the highest intention for you. Like if you have a contract with draconians or reptilians, they may not always be in your best um, or your highest good. So I mentioned them because that is something that I look at. If you have cosmic contracts or if you have any other type of contract, says contract or the oath, agreement, vow, commitment, pact, promises, and especially blood vows or promises that you may
Hmm.
have that carry through your lineage or carry through your ancestors to you. So we want to clear that because otherwise, so what happens when you have a contract, you're bound to something, and that as you evolve, that may also change. As we create something different, a new reality, a new world, then there may not be a need for that agreement anymore, for that contract. So I look for those to see if they're still in your highest good, and if not, we uncreate them, and we may create others if there's a need for that.
Is that something like Akashic Records, or is that something that's entirely a different, that's not, was that where
Um,
you'd be looking for that, or?
I look at it in the Akashic records. I look at it in your Hall of Records. I look at it in
Mhm,
your field. I can when I look at somebody, I don't specifically like go into meaning like, oh, we're only going to do Akasha or we're only going to do Hall of Records. It's like everything all at once. Let's
mhm,
just pull everything that is no longer in your highest good. Let's pull up everything that is keeping you from living the mission or living your life or
mhm.
being in your healthy body and your wealthy creation and success. So I look for distortions, I look for interferences, I look for blocks, and I like to do it all at once because it's more efficient that way. Instead of let's do this and let's do that and let's do that. Uh, I don't like to do modalities or specific processes because it takes longer. So I like
Mhm.
to, especially working with the beings of light, we can pull everything all at once. And when we do it all at once, then the transformation is more impactful across the multidimensional bodies and planes of existence. So we can see the shift a lot quicker, almost instantaneously.
I just had on my 100th episode, I had a returning guest, and he uh, is a quadriplegic, and he died 6 times during the different surgeries and things that happened when they tried to save him from a horrific automobile accident when he was a young man. And I don't have it in front of me, but he just wrote a book recently. His name is Matt Hedrickson, and he writes about his intergalactic or interdimensional being experiences that he had during all of the things that were happening to him.
Mhm.
And to this day, they don't know why they told him when he was a young man that he would only live about 20 years. He's now lived for 30 years. They
Mhm.
found a metal piece of something inside his body that no one's been able to decide where or what it is for or where it came from. He can only he paints. He was a media person in photography before he was had the accident, and he paints with his mouth.
Mhm.
So he painted the images of these beings that he has been interacting with, and he now just came out with his book to share it with
Um,
with others, and the healing experience that he feel really has to do with this contact and connection that he had with these different
Wonderful.
interdimensional beings. And it's a very inspirational show, but I feel like, and it's only one episode before yours company, so it's only two. So I feel like they almost could have come in succession, because we're talking about powerful healing work, and it not being said from a medical point of view, but from another form of healing. So
Mhm.
I feel like this is important things to be sharing. This is serious kind of different healings that's going on. So what is quantum ascension? What does that mean?
Yeah, quantum ascension is moving into the quantum field, but activating the quantum field within you, activating the codes that are already yours and available to you, and moving into that phase where you're actually collapsing everything else that is not in alignment with you. It's almost like stepping into like if you can imagine having different paths in front of you, and then you find the highest path for you, and we move you to the highest path, and that's through different uh, clearance and activation when we move into that highest path for you, everything else collapses because you no longer have to experience that. So that quantum ascension is it's kind of a big leap that you take into that that next highest version of you, and that comes with the codex activation. It comes with the DNA activation. It comes with new frequencies that are now available to you and that you're now downloading into your field. It comes with a higher level of consciousness and connection. So you're connecting to higher beings of light. You up leveled and you move from the 3, 4D, 5D to the 9D and even higher dimensions. And now you're operating and creating from that place.
So, besides helping the people that you work with, do you also teach other healers or do you work with
Absolutely.
other? Oh, you do? Oh, how
Yes.
exciting. And where
Yes.
are you? Uh,
I am in Southern California.
in Southern California?
Yes, and I do everything over Zoom. So I do one-on-one and I do group training. And I do work with other healers, and especially with this higher work that we're doing, where we're going beyond what we've already remembered and what we've already integrated. We go into the space of creation, and we tap into the tapestry, we tap into the divine codex, we tap into, uh,
Okay.
and we
There you
access
are.
everything.
Yes. So my question is there a website or email or what would you like to share with our audience if they would like to contact you to find out whether they would be able to book a session or
Thank you. It's at 360 Prosperity. 360 Prosperity. That's my website. Also, if they wanted to book a call, if you go into 360 Prosperity, into work with me individual, there's also a discovery call that you can set up, or you can go to evolve360.online and book a call there. Both of those are my websites. And I do have a list of programs there, and I have ways that you can work with me either one-on-one or in a group setting, depending on what your interest is. Or if you're just interested in knowing how I can help you, or if you have a particular um, concern, challenge that you're working through and you want to find out what we could do, then a discovery call will also be very helpful.
Mhm. And how long have you been doing this now professionally?
Professionally, let's see, over 20 years.
Wow. You
Yeah.
look too young to be doing that long.
Yeah, over 20 years. Yes.
Uh, so,
But really all my life.
we're getting closer here. I did have a question about what you're doing. Your work is about empowerment and transformation and soul retrieval. And I was wondering if you were familiar with the work of Sandra Ingerman, and was your soul retrieval a similar sort of thing like she teaches?
I'm not familiar with Sandra. The soul retrieval that I teach, it was something that I learned from my guides because that's what the
Oh,
initial work that I did. So the way we do that is we look at everywhere where parts of your soul, and it's really spirit because when I look at you, I look at as a multi-dimensional being. So your soul stays connected to your body. It's your spirit that kind of moves out and about. So it's the spirit that we're bringing back. I know a lot of people use them interchangeably, but because I see you in your multidimensional self, I can see spirit by itself. And so what we do is as I was describing earlier, we open everything at once. We open your timelines, your parallel lives. We open up all planes of existence. We open up other dimensions where you may be existing. And we also look at any mimics or copies of you that need to be returned back or healed or um, that may be not be acting the highest good that may be actually acting against you. So we look for everything that has your essence or anything that has a copy of your essence. And then we retrieve the original, but before we retrieve it, we heal it and we awaken it, we heal it, and then we restore it, we clean it, and we bring it back into integration. And then any copies that are not acting in your highest good, um, either the luminous beings of light or your higher self would decide what's the next for them, what we need to do for them. But again, my work, I feel is a little different than what's out there because it came directly from my beings of light and the training, and
Mhm.
it's the original work that I was doing. Obviously, that work has evolved, and it's now. And I say everything all at once because it's so powerful and beautiful to open all the dimensions at once and then just pull and pull and pull from everything and bring it in and then work with it,
Your
whether it's
family,
your spirit.
your family must be very proud of you. Is your mom still alive?
She is, and she does hands-on healing. She's very proud. I have three kids who are also very gifted, so I'm teaching them the ways because uh, I see I see my son and the shaman technology being passed on to him, and my daughter who's very galactic, her connection to the stars, and my other daughter who is she goes, she's very much like in all worlds. So very powerful, to know this work for you, Gail, to be doing this work and also from a very young age and to be
Mhm.
in this presence and to be in this time. I know you asked me in the earlier question, why is there more talk about it? I feel that a lot of us are now more open and a lot of us are now more aware. A lot of us are recognizing that we're coming in awake. A lot of us have recognized that we had different experiences that maybe we dismissed or that we either were dismissed, we didn't think others would believe us, or maybe we're too scary. But now we can look back and say, yeah, I remember that. And yeah. And then we can talk about it because now the world is more open. And the world also, many of us are having many experiences in the now that we can be
To
open
me
to and we
on
can, yeah.
anything floating around me or and I'm open to anything that you have to say, positive or not positive.
So I'm not seeing anything floating around you in this moment, but I do see somebody standing behind you that is part of your lineage, part of your shamanic lineage. She stands behind you on the right side, and she carries these beautiful flowers and herbs and essence. And it feels like you're working with her, and you're kind of a constant relationship that you have with her, that she works through with you in the astral plane. Um, very, very sweet, and carries a lot of wisdom and is very much coming forward with love and support for you and the work that you're doing. I also see behind her other beings. Some are like ascended masters, and behind them there's another group that are more galactic, and they're very sort of pleased and excited about you and people like you that are talking about because what we're doing is we're weaving, right? We're weaving this reality with other realities. We're weaving in the information that is really there available to everybody. So they're very pleased with the work that you're doing, especially in your podcast. Um, and it feels like there's something that going to happen with your podcast. Like it's going to be elevated. It's going to be almost like the light is going to be, it's going to be spotlighted, and it's going to be more visible. More people are going to know because they, as much as you wanting your work to get out there, they want your work to get out there as well, and in the very beautiful way that you're doing it.
Well, I want to thank you for that validation because
Mhm.
I never even saw a podcast when I started the podcast, and I only did it because some publisher told me if you want to publish a book, you have to have a social media presence. So I didn't even know what that was. I started this podcast, and I have nothing to do with it. It has its own life. The people just
Beautiful.
continue to show up. I don't have to work hard to do it. It gives me a tremendous amount of experience and meeting incredible people. I've made wonderful friends and meeting with people around the world. So I appreciate the validation because that's what I feel. I feel like I have nothing to do with this, but I'm just along for the ride.
Mhm. Well, you have a team behind you for sure.
Oh, I'm so glad. And I know they must be taller than me.
Yes. Oh, they're very tall, especially
I,
the galactic things.
yeah, that's the one thing that I've always seen is that they're very tall, and I'm 4 foot
Yeah.
11. So, anyways, I want
Beautiful.
to thank you so much for being here. I don't know if there's anything
Thank you,
else you
Gail.
need to say. I think we're good. We're on time. I'd love to have you again if we have some time, another time, some other months down the
It
road
would
or
be my
whatever.
pleasure.
Let's have you again and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Another great
Thank
show.
you so much.
And I just want to say I'll be sending you an email just to get some contact information so I have it exactly correct. So I want to
Thank you.
thank you
Thank
for
you for
being here with me today. And I want to thank you,
my
all
pleasure.
listeners, for joining us, liking, subscribing, sharing. And remember, share all your stories because stories can heal. Bye.